and welcome to the Orange County School Board's Rule Development Workshop, which has been scheduled for today, Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. Rule Development Workshop has been scheduled for the purpose of discussing targeted and consolidation of 7 schools. During this Rule Development Workshop, the school board welcomes public comment on the proposed targeted and consolidation of 7 schools. However, because this is not a regularly scheduled school board meeting, there will be no non-agenda period during which the public would normally be able to address the school board on other topics. Should you wish to address the school board on another topic, please do so at our next regularly scheduled school board meeting, where we do have a public comment period beforehand. Again, thank you for those of you who have taken the time to come out and join us. Let me check. We have the Vice Chair Salamanca here. Members Ferrand, Douglas, Vanos, and Gallo and Felder are with us. Is Member Byrd with us on? Okay, no.
Yeah, she's stepped out.
All right. So all members are present and participating except for Member Byrd. As a reminder, board members will not be engaging in outside electronics or digital communication during the meeting so that we can focus on the matters before us. And to fellow board members, district staff, and anyone else who may be speaking, please make sure that your microphone is turned on and speak directly into it so our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. All right, we will now pause for a moment of silence. I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And now for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Palmerini, I know we have some speakers. Can you tell me how many we have?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 1 speaker.
Okay. It will take me longer to read all the do's and don'ts than it will take to hear from our speaker. The only thing I would ask of those of you who are present, if you're in favor and opposition to what the speaker has to say, just please keep your comments to yourself. If you wish to express support or opposition, do so by showing a thumbs up or a thumbs down. With that, let me turn the meeting over to you, Superintendent, and we will take public comments as, do we know which school this pertains to, or is it broader than that?
It's broader than that.
Okay, all right. Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today's meeting continues an important and very difficult conversation about enrollment facilities and how we responsibly plan for the future of our district. Over the past several years, OCPS has experienced declining enrollment, with several schools operating well below capacity. This has created financial challenges as operational costs remain despite reduced student numbers. To address these issues, the school board is reviewing various space optimization strategies, including the potential school consolidations. We have held town hall meetings within the various communities. Additionally, the board had a work session January 27th to discuss feedback from the community as well as the rezoning options. At today's meeting, staff will present the zoning options for the 7 schools that we are proposing to consolidate. Included in the presentation will be items that respond to questions our community and board members had related to some of the specialized programs within each of those schools. At this time, I am going to turn it over to Stacy Neal, who will begin our rezoning presentation.
Good evening. Before we start, let me introduce. Good evening, board members, Chair Jacobs, Superintendent Vasquez, all other OCPS staff that may be listening or present. Before we start, let me introduce my staff. With me are Thomas Moore, our demographer, Renata Parapche, Senior Administrator of Student Enrollment. Sitting at the table with us is Wendy Ivory, Executive Leader for Exceptional Student Education, and Executive Leader Greg Moody for School Choice Services. We are presenting 7 proposed school consolidation rezonings for consideration today. Before addressing each proposal individually, we will begin with a review of the rezoning timeline. Community meetings were held on January 14th, 15th, 21st, and 22nd. School board work session was held on January 27th. Today, February 3rd, we are conducting the school board rule development workshop. The public hearing for these rezonings will take place on March 10th at 5:30. All rezonings, no matter how small, follow school board policy JC. The process begins when the superintendent officially starts the rezoning effort. Our staff then creates a timeline, meets with internal teams, conducts research, and develops possible rezoning options. Next, we share these options with the community, allowing for their input. After gathering all input, the school board reviews the options during a rural development workshop. Next, the board holds a public hearing where they vote on the rezoning plan as the final step. We complete a rezoning notebook to record the process and board decisions. This rezoning process applies whether we rezone for a new school, a neighborhood, vacant land, or a school consolidation. To describe the scope of the rezoning, we use the terms technical, targeted, relief school, or school consolidation. For a technical rezoning, there are no students involved. The area to be moved is uninhabited land. For a targeted rezoning, only selected areas are recommended to be moved, and there is usually a small group of students involved. A relief school rezoning, when a new school is opening, and it affects large number of students. A school consolidation closes underutilized sites, and it affects large number of students. Information regarding rezoning can be found on the rezoning website at www.ocps.net. Under the School tab, you will click on School Rezoning. From there, it will take you to the rezoning currently in the Works page, where you will find the rezoning timeline, community presentations, maps, data, and survey links. OCPS has, in policy, a grandfathered transfer to ease the rezoning process for families under certain conditions. For a student who has been rezoned by OCPS 2 or more times during a school level, that's K through 5, 6 through 8, 9 through 12, at the current address, or for a student who has been rezoned from an established school to another established school. In this case, the student may remain at the existing school instead of being rezoned or assigned to the rezoned school. For a student who will be in the 5th or 8th grade and will be rezoned to a new relief elementary or middle school. This policy will apply for students being rezoned from Eastlake Elementary School to Columbia Elementary School, Legacy Middle School to Discovery Middle School, and Odyssey Middle School to Legacy Middle School. Students may remain at the existing school instead of being assigned to the rezoned school. Parents must apply by April 30th, 2026. Please note that transportation is not provided by OCPS for students on a grandfathered transfer. And siblings may be eligible to transfer with the student who is granted the grandfathered transfer. However, sibling transfers are only valid while the grandfathered student attends the school. We offer 3 ways for families to share their input on the rezoning. There's an online survey, petitions, and email. Input received from the community members have been summarized and provided to all board members. Survey links will reopen tomorrow on the rezoning website. Community input can also be submitted via email at schoolrezoning@ocps.net. A petition must be hand-delivered or mailed in the original form to the Office of Student Enrollment at 6501 Magic Way, Suite 100B, Orlando, Florida, 32809. Each input must include name and address, and it must be submitted by 7:30 a.m. on February 17th, 2026. Only one submission per household will be counted. We will now present 7 school consolidations that would redistribute students to 17 additional schools. Together, these recommendations address under enrollment across 24 schools. Our first rezoning is Bonneville Elementary School's
Ms. Neal,
consolidation.
before we begin that since we have one speaker and it's not pertaining to a specific school, why don't we go ahead and hear from the speaker?
Your speaker is Stephen Holtzman.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Holtzman. You know where it is good, because it doesn't work as well from here as it does there. Thank you.
Yeah. Good
we
evening,
could
everybody.
get you a full-time job doing that, by the way.
Here usually, so I might volunteer.
I'm just kidding. Good to see you.
Good to see you, everybody. I'm Stephen Holzman, 32812. This evening, for a change, I'm here on behalf of Orlando YIMBY. I run the Urbanots Book Club for the group. We are a housing advocacy group that promotes policies that would lead to affordable housing.
Mr. Holtzman,
Yes.
I apologize. What was the name of the organization?
Orlando YIMBY.
Okay.
So YIMBY, yes, in my backyard.
Thank you.
And we worry about all the factors that might get in the way of, building more affordable housing, infill housing. Particularly, as an education guy, I'm usually trying to communicate to the group why they should care about what's going on in our schools. And I have spoken to the board as an individual about those enrollment summaries. In the past, I think it might have been August of 2024, we heard worries about overcrowding with Vision 2050, and the school district pushes for different zoning arrangements based on those overcrowding concerns. Now, the plot has developed. We're worried about undercrowding in some of those infill areas. And again, you have to worry about, just for everybody, members of the public, you have to worry about overcrowding and undercrowding at schools. What helps is having good data. About a year ago in the spring, I made a request that those student enrollment summaries be published in a machine-readable format. Right now they are PDFs. There is, when you convert that into a CSV or an Excel file, there's potential for errors when I'm editing the district data and making it work with the amazing free software programs. But why this is relevant to like Orlando YIMBY and our efforts is, I think one of the best ways to get your head around, all the variables is to touch them. And we've run one-on-one tutoring sessions. Like you can actually make a map and look at the school enrollment numbers and maybe look at what schools are endangered for coming years. So I want to reiterate that request. It would help our group a lot, just the internal education efforts that we do, trying to understand, what those school enrollment numbers are doing. And again, long-term, And I do want to throw some kudos, the GIS overhaul, those assets, those shape files, and the school list, that is way better than the last time I dug into that. It's just, getting those school enrollment summaries that come out like every 2 weeks or whatever, really help the workflow and some of those education efforts that I'm trying to do in the group. And again, this is going to be a recurring problem. I want to make sure that the public has access to data in the right shape and the right files to make sure that we're as informed as possible, trying to balance all these numbers and play those games. So thank you for your time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Stephen. Mr. Holtz. Dr. Vasquez, maybe we can talk about that, not necessarily here, but in the coming days and weeks. I know for me it's always valuable to be able to have a digital version.
And we did have conversations about this, and there were some concerns about not having a PDF and the manipulation of the data, but we certainly can have the conversation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to you, Ms. Neal. Thank you.
So our first rezoning again is Bonneville Elementary School's consolidation. This slide represents historical and projected enrollment at Bonneville Elementary School. The bars to the left of the orange bar show the last 7 years of enrollment, and the bars to the right summarize projected enrollment in the next 10 years. The orange bar shows schools' enrollment in the current year. Bonneville's current enrollment is 368, and the school's capacity is 938, which shows that the school is more than 60% under capacity. The checkered portion of the bar shows how many students reside in the zone versus how many students attend. The red line labeled necessary enrollment at 680 marks the minimum number of students required to minimally fund an elementary school. Current and projected enrollment fall well below this threshold. The next slides will show maps and demographic data to help illustrate the potential impact on students, families, and schools. Let's start by reviewing the map to orient you with the current and proposed zones. Red lines indicate current elementary school boundaries. Schools involved in this rezoning are Bonneville, East Lake Elementary, and Columbia Elementary. The colored areas are the proposed zones. Purple is East Lake and green is Columbia. The next slides will show you zoomed-in views of the areas proposed to move. Bonneville Elementary to East Lake Elementary, there are 321 students residing and attending Bonneville recommended to be moved to East Lake Elementary. From East Lake to Columbia, there are 191 students residing and attending East Lake Elementary recommended to be moved to Columbia Elementary. The next slide displays the demographic breakdown for each school, both before and after the rezoning. The first column shows the name of the school involved in the rezoning with the school's Florida Inventory of Schoolhouses capacity. FISH capacity refers to the official number of students a school is designated to accommodate as determined by the state. This figure is maintained by district staff in the Florida Inventory of Schoolhouses, a comprehensive database that includes every room in all district-owned schools. The next column displays student enrollment from October 15, 2025, with a percentage breakdown for race as white, Black, and other, and ethnicity as non-Hispanic and Hispanic. The third column shows the difference between enrollment and capacity. The fourth column displays the current number of students residing in each zone. The next column shows how many students will be residing in each zone if this rezoning takes place. The next column is FARMS, which stands for Free and Reduced Meals. ESE which stands for exceptional student education, percentage at each of the schools before and after the rezoning. The last column shows ELL, which stands for English Language Learners, percentage current and proposed. I will give you a moment to review the numbers for each school. We do have an option 2 for Bonneville's consolidation. This option keeps the Grow development and the adjacent parcels along Chuliota Road within the Eastlake Elementary attendance zone. Next is a zoomed-in view of the proposed option, number 2, Eastlake Zone. Number of students residing and attending Bonneville Elementary School recommended to be moved to Eastlake is 321. Zoomed-in view of the proposed option 2, which is 2 Columbia Elementary Zone. Number of students residing and attending Eastlake recommended to be moved to Columbia Elementary is 186. Demographic table for option 2. I'll give you a moment. At the request of the board, during the board work session, we created an additional option for Bonneville Elementary's consolidation. This option keeps the Grow development and the adjacent parcels along Chuliota Road within the Eastlake Elementary attendance zone and adds the community of Solace at Corner Lake to the Eastlake Elementary School's attendance zone. Here is a zoomed-in view of the proposed Eastlake zone with the addition of Solace at the Corner Lake, or at Corner Lake. Number of students residing and attending Bonneville Elementary recommended to be moved to Eastlake Elementary School with this is 321 students. Here's the zoom-in view of the proposed Columbia Elementary School zone. The number of students residing and attending Eastlake Elementary School recommended to be moved to Columbia is still 186 students. Here's the demographic table for the additional option. We have modified option 2A by adding adjacent parcels west of Solace development to the Eastlake zone to ensure zone continuity by Corner Lake. Here is a zoomed-in view of the proposed Eastlake zone showing the continuity around the north and west side of Corner Lake. Number of students residing and attending Bonneville Elementary School recommended to be moved to Eastlake, 321. Here is a zoomed-in view of the proposed Columbia Elementary School zone, and the number of students residing and attending Eastlake recommended to be moved to Columbia is 186. Demographic table for option 2B. This slide shows the changes proposed zone for each option side by side. superintendent's staff recommendation is option 2. Here again is the option or the data table, demographic table for option 2. We'll give a moment for Wendy Ivory.
Good afternoon. Before I go into some of the factors that we looked at when we looked at proposed changes, I wanted to share the factors that we took into consideration for the proposed moves for our ESE units. We looked at the number of units at each school. We did not want to exceed 4 units at each school. We looked at resources, example, behavior specialists, staffing specialists, etc. We looked at the schools with the closest proximity to the proposed school being consolidated. And we're currently working on gifted feeder patterns based on the models that schools are currently in the process of deciding what models they'll be using next year. And I'll be sharing that with board members once we have that. So on the screen, you see Bonneville Elementary's proposed units that we're moving. They have 1 full day pre-K, 1 half day pre-K, and these are pre-K ESE, and 3 ASD K through 5 units. So the proposed changes are that Eastlake Elementary will receive the 3 ASD K through 5 units, and they will retain their 1 IND K through 5. We looked at trying to do a hybrid model here, but it's not recommended because it does hinder some of the resources that the school would need. Columbia Elementary will receive 1 full day pre-K from Eastlake, and that's a slight change after hearing some recommendations, and 1 half day pre-K from Bonneville Elementary. And then Riverdale Elementary will receive 1 full day pre-K from Bonneville.
Community response summary for Bonneville's consolidation. There are 3 families in support of the rezoning and 35 are opposing. Student enrollment also received a link from a community member to an online petition opposing the consolidation of Bonneville Elementary. There were 1,074 electronic signatures on this petition. As indicated in the community meeting, community input requires that petitions be hand-delivered or mailed in their original form to the Office of Student Enrollment, and that each submission include the name and address of the individual. This petition, however, did not comply with the instructions provided at the community meeting, as the signatures did not include addresses, As a result, student enrollment was unable to verify that only 1 submission per household was provided. As previously stated in this presentation, we will open the window for community input starting tomorrow, and all input must be received by 7:30 a.m. on February 17, 2026. The community will have an opportunity to resubmit a petition if they choose. Any submission of input, whether it be a survey, email, or petition, must have the individual's name and address. Only 1 input per household will be counted. If a member of the community submits input through one of the other methods, including filling out the survey form via QR code or sending an email to schoolrezoning@ocps.net, then the party should not sign a petition. If approved, this rezoning will commence August 2026. This concludes our presentation for Bonneville Elementary School consolidation. Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Stacy and team. Madam Chair, as you can see, we have offered an additional option, and we have also looked at the ESC request that we heard from our board member as well as some of our community members. So we are ready to answer any questions or listen to comments.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez, and thank you, Stacy and team. I believe we have Member Gallo on the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this one was tricky. They're all tricky, but this one was like really tricky when we're looking at the maps and we're trying to create consistency within the boundaries of Eastlake. And most of the surveys that I reviewed are really, even the ones from Bonnyville, are more upset that we're moving kids out of Eastlake to Columbia than the responses that really said don't close Bonnyville. We have that group of students and their families that do not want to leave Eastlake because it's such a great school and go to Columbia, which is an equally great school, but I get it. You don't want to leave your friends. I went through this when my kids were little. You know, my daughter, Lindsay, was the first student to actually go through. She started a kindergarten at Eastlake Elementary, and she was the first fifth grade class to go all the way through before they go on. So I understand how disrupted it is when you get rezoned. My oldest was in second grade. And then Cypress Lakes came along and was built when we're told it wasn't going to get built. And then all of their friends that they had made from Cypress Lakes like left and went to Columbia. So I get it. But if we could pull up like the original map, because I want to point out, so when really one of the biggest issues, can we go back one? I want to go to the original map of how they're zoned right now. Like the map that for Eastlake zone. Okay, we can use this one. So if you look at this map, this one this shows Columbia, so it doesn't really show. Do we have a map of just what the Eastlake zone right now? Well, look at the red lines.
Right, the red lines.
Okay. It's been a long day. So if you look at this map and you see the area of the students that the proposal will send to Columbia, these are the students that this neighborhood is off of 50. It's in Buffalo. It's off of 50. So when we rezone, because Columbia was supposed to be a Cypress Lakes like community school, and at the time there were so many students in Cypress Lakes that we couldn't overload Columbia, and we were already losing like 300 students at the time from Eastlake, and we couldn't further erode the enrollment at Eastlake. There was a decision that we would bus those students past Columbia and into Eastlake. That probably should never have happened because we were really going by, even though I supported it, I was a PTA president at the time, I supported it because I didn't want to lose my teachers and I didn't want to lose my kids' friends. But the buses go right past Columbia to go to Eastlake, and in order to clean up those lines, the only way that we can clean up those lines and make it make sense is to rezone those students to Columbia along with the students that are in Corner Lake Estates in those areas. And I know that that's hard. I was reading through the surveys and several of them are fifth graders. Fifth graders are grandfathered in. Eastlake is still going to be on the open enrollment. So any student that wants to stay at Eastlake, you will have to transfer your child. You'll have to take your child there, can continue to go to Eastlake if that's what they choose to do. And if you apply for a scholarship for the Step Up for Students, you actually get a transportation fee because you're going out of zone. It's considered out of zone with the rezoning, so you would qualify for a transportation stipend. I don't know if that's helpful. I think it's like $500 a year, $750 a year. I can't remember, but it would help offset the transportation costs. So I just wanted to point that out, that's why we're even having this discussion, because I know there's a lot of angst in my community about moving those students. They don't want to leave Eastlake. They love their school. I don't blame them. I loved Eastlake too. Columbia is equally as great, but it's hard. It's really, really hard to move schools. So I just wanted to show that and show like the reasoning behind how it was just impossible to keep those students at Eastlake. It was, if we wanted the GROW to go, because when we started having these conversations and the GROW was going into Columbia, and then we were moving those students out of Eastlake and they were going to Columbia, it was like disproportionate with the amount of students, in my mind, that would go to Columbia versus Eastlake. And I was trying to make it more proportionate so that it was kind of more even and be as least disruptive as possible to the students. It's just unfortunately the way the lines were drawn for Eastlake, it is going to disrupt a lot of students, and for that, I'm very sad. So can we go to 2B? Because I know the staff recommendation was 2.
It's 2B.
2B? 2.
It's 2, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
So just a quick question. I know that 2A has the solace, and if you look at the numbers between like option 1, there's it's more proportionate. Option 2, whether it's 2A, 2B, are more proportionate in numbers between Columbia and Eastlake. And in what I would like to see isn't a huge influx of kids going to Eastlake. But so 2B, because I know 2A includes a solace, and those are the parents that have already toured Eastlake and are expecting to go to Eastlake. Explain to me, and I know I got an email on it, but I haven't. I'm a little behind on emails. What other community did we add in 2B? Is it the communities that are on the left side of Lake Pickett?
Yes, it's the community. If you notice, there's Lake, and it's the community to the left. So if we kept that community, they would go through. They have to drive Lake Pickett through the Eastlake Solace area to get to Columbia. Still, there's already a student attending.
Okay.
That distance to the school is under 2 miles. It's less. It's like a mile.
Okay.
If we in 2B we included it, so that whole area would go to Eastlake,
Okay.
making it more than 4 miles, creating a bus.
Okay. So I support option 2B. I think that one makes the most sense, and I know it's hard for those students from Bifflo and the students from the Corner Lakes area to be transferred out. But again, I want to say there is open enrollment. You can keep your child at Eastlake as long as you apply by the deadline if you choose to do so, and you are grandfathered in if you have a 5th grader. So I know this is disruptive. It's disruptive for everybody, and if we didn't have to do this, we wouldn't be doing this. But I support option 2B. I think it's the fairest, and I think proportionately with both schools, it makes more sense and even, and it makes the lines cleaner. When you look at the lines, you know that everything that goes up to Lake Pickett east is going to come to Eastlake, and then kind of everything west of Lake Pickett and down 419 would then go to Columbia. And so the GROW would be in Eastlake, and they would get the students from the GROW. Again, we still have time to hear comments and suggestions from our community, which I'm hoping that people respond to them by the deadline. But right now, my option would be for 2B. And then I want to discuss the ESE, because that's the other area that I had some angst on. Because at the end of the day, what I was asking staff was, can we disrupt the least amount of students possible? And unfortunately, with Eastlake, they're getting disrupted the most. Like even though Union Park is spider webbing all over the place, with Eastlake, they're really losing a lot of students out of Eastlake to go to Columbia. So how many units does Columbia have right now? Because I think they have more than that's shown on this screen. Do they not?
They currently have 2 ASD units. So adding the full day pre-K from Eastlake and the half day from Bonneville will put them at 4.
Okay. So with this, Eastlake and Columbia would both have
4 units.
4 units, which makes sense. And we had a conversation this morning because we were going over these numbers, and I was really trying to get the 1 full day pre-K at Eastlake, because there's zone for Eastlake, and I know that that's what Eastlake really wants. They want to keep that pre-K, but there just wasn't a way to do it that wouldn't have interfered with the IND units or the ASD units that were going there. And we talked through it. I asked lots of questions. There just wasn't a really good way to do it. And so what I did ask, I'm like, well, if we've got to move the full day pre-K, can we at least look at Columbia to receive it? Because at least it's still in the neighborhood. It's still in the area. Like if you know my area, Eastlake and Columbia are probably 4 miles apart from each other. They're still in the same area, and they're not that far apart. Whereas Riverdale is, you got to go across LFA, you got to take 50. Like just busing the kids to Riverdale from Eastlake would put them on a bus for a lot longer time. So if they're going to be bused. The bus to Columbia will be a lot shorter. It's a lot less traffic because you're taking all back roads to Columbia. So the best that we could really come up with, and the team was great. So thank you, Wendy and your team, for all your help. But the best we could do is really move that pre-K from Eastlake to Columbia. That's the only thing that we could really make work. And so I'm sorry about that. I did try, because I promised y'all I would look into it, and I did try to see if we could, and it didn't work. So I support this plan, and I support 2B, and I look forward to hearing from the community if they think I've got it wrong. If they want to see something else, please, now is your time to speak, and let me know. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep Bifflo at Eastlake or Corner Lakes. I just don't see an option where that can happen. That just makes the lines all jagged, and with transportation, it would cost us more to transport the kids, and transportation is an issue. We're already doing double back, so we really got to do what's best for the kids, and having the kids on a bus the least amount of time possible, and that accomplishes that. So with that, I'll end my discussion, or my diatribe.
Thank you, Member Gallo, for your thoroughness, for sure. I do not have anyone else queued up, so good to, I don't know if the superintendent or staff said anything to that. And you said this is option 2. Yeah. But, okay, so do you want to?
I support option 2B.
Okay, so we have a motion for supporting this, and we just need consensus of. So does the board have any other questions? We're good to support Member Gallo? Thank you. Okay, so we are good with this, and we can move on to the next one. Union Park Middle School.
Before I start, can I just make a reminder that grandfathered transfers are for current students attending K through 5.
I'm so sorry if I misspoke, but in their survey results, there was a couple of 5th grade Eastlake students that, like, my daughter's in 4th grade, or my child's and they're gonna be in 5th. I'm like, well, you'll be grandfathered in, and it is under enrolled. I just want everybody to know. They have
Union Park Middle School's consolidation. Union Park's current enrollment is 565, and school's capacity is 1,478, which shows that the school is 61% under capacity. The red line labeled necessary enrollment at 850 marks the minimum number of students required to minimally fund a middle school. Current and projected enrollment fall well below this threshold. Next slides will show maps and demographic data to help illustrate the potential impact on students, families, and schools. Green lines indicate current middle school boundaries. Schools involved in this rezoning are Union Park, Glen Ridge, Legacy, Discovery, Roberto Clemente, and Odyssey Middle Schools. The colored areas are the proposed zones. Pink is Glen Ridge, yellow is Legacy, green is Discovery, purple is Clemente, and orange is Odyssey. The next slides will show you a zoomed-in view of the areas proposed to be moved. From Union Park Middle School to Glen Ridge Middle School, there are 30 middle school students residing and attending Union Park's Middle School, recommended to be moved to Glen Ridge. From Union Park Middle School to Legacy Middle School, there are 293 students residing and attending Union Park, recommended to be moved to Legacy Middle School. From Union Park to Roberto Clemente, there are 210 students residing and attending Union Park Middle School, recommended to be moved to Roberto Clemente. From Legacy Middle School to Discovery Middle School, there are 104 students residing and attending Legacy Middle School, recommended to be moved to Discovery. From Odyssey Middle School to Legacy Middle School, there are 199 students residing and attending Odyssey, recommended to be moved to Legacy Middle School. Here is a demographic overview for each of the schools.
Okay, this slide shows the current units that are at Union Park Middle School. We have 2 orthopedically impaired, physically impaired units. We're proposing to move both of them to Roberto Clemente, which would put them, they currently have no ESC units at Roberto. It would put them with 2 units.
Summary of community response. There are 3 families supporting and 18 families opposing this rezoning. If approved, this rezoning will commence August of 2026. This concludes our presentation for Union Park Middle School's consolidation. Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you. And I have Member Gallo-Cuda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a lot of moving pieces to this one as well, because it's a middle school, and this one is tough in the sense that, I mean, we don't want to close either school, but there was just so many different moving parts, and the team, you guys did a great job of really trying to clean up the lines and really look at the feeder patterns so that kids got to stay together, because this transition is going to be tough, because in middle school, it's hard to find friends, and it's hard to lose friends, and then to go to somewhere new, and have to make new friends is extremely challenging for middle school students. And so my heart goes out to them, and I'm sad. But what this will do is ensure that the students they make next year, the friends they make next year, will follow them to the high school. So when they go on to high school, they won't be leaving more friends. They'll be staying with their friends from this point forward. And so that's a good thing. When I'm looking at and I don't know if we've had time to do the safety check out. I know it was already in process out at Discovery, but when I was reviewing some of the survey results, the majority of them really were from the Discovery area, where parents are extremely concerned about the traffic, because it is really bad on Lake Underhill and Woodbury Road at arrival and dismissal. And I know that we were already looking at a traffic study, so I don't know what the timeline is on that. I'm hoping that we could have that information prior to voting on this on March 10th, because we're putting over 100 students from Legacy to Discovery.
Dr. Vasquez.
The team has been made aware of the request, and it's in process. However, it was brought to our attention that at one point Discovery had a lot
Yes.
greater enrollment, and so this is well below what they had, even with the additional 100 students.
That is correct. It is. It was a lot. They had a lot more students, and I couldn't. The makeup of, and y'all email me if I'm wrong, because I know you will. The makeup of that community wasn't even that. It's not like a lot of more homes have been added when they had that number. Those homes, that's an established community. So those homes have been there for a while, and they existed when the higher number of enrolled students went to Discovery. I think what's changed and what's made the traffic so bad is people learned about the cut through on Lake Underhill and how to get to Avalon. So they're either using Woodbury to go to Goff Way and then cutting across and going the back way, or they're going down Lake Underhill, taking this Waterford Chase and then cutting over to go to Avalon. And so they figured that out. So Waterford Chase, that side road, is always just crammed with traffic. And I think that's what has brought more traffic to the area, not necessarily homes. So I think the traffic pattern has changed. So I would love just to see what the traffic study has, because I've been out there and it is challenging. with the traffic. So if there's anything that we could do to help alleviate that, maybe we change the way incoming cars come into Discovery to get them off the road quicker. There's 2 entrances. There's a bus entrance, and then there's a car entrance. There is quite a long road leading into Discovery. So maybe we could change up the traffic. They do a good job. Like, they loop people around when I'm in just like. They're doing a good job, but maybe if there's anything we could do to get more cars off the road, that would make the community a little happier. At any rate, I support this recommendation. I think this will be. It's very sad that we got to close Union Park, but I think we did the best that we could with the circumstances that we had. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. I'm up next. I had one quick question, which was specific to Odyssey. So I see that we're moving about 200 students that are attending Odyssey to Legacy. Is that right? And then I was looking at the Odyssey numbers for the big chart, and those numbers go up from 875 to 964. Is that right? Is that what am I reading that right? The proposed
That
versus
would reside in the zone, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is there new buildings there? I was just curious on why, like, they're losing 200 students that are going to be going to Legacy.
Why are they growing?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have Everbee.
That's the Everbee.
Yeah, they have
Okay.
Everbee, yeah.
You're right. Okay. That's fine. Okay. That was just a clarification question because I was like, where are those coming from? Which is a great community. Everbee is up and slowly running up, but it's huge and a lot of families are very excited about it. So I was just curious about that. I also obviously have a couple of schools that are impacted and think that staff did such an incredible job trying to fix some of these lines and that feeder pattern. So thank you for that. And I think I don't have anyone else up for speaking. It sounds like we have, okay. We have board consensus. Yep. Board consensus. All right. That ends Union Park, so on to Chickasaw Elementary.
Chickasaw Elementary Schools consolidation. Chickasaw's current enrollment is 503, and school's capacity is 888, which shows that the school is more than 43% under capacity. The next slides will show maps and demographic data to help illustrate the potential impact on students, families, and schools. Red lines indicate current elementary school boundaries. The schools involved in the rezoning are Chickasaw, Inglewood, and Deerwood Elementaries. The colored areas are the proposed zones. Purple is Deerwood, and green is Inglewood. The next slides will show you zoomed-in views of the areas proposed to be moved. From Chickasaw Elementary to Inglewood Elementary, there are 221 elementary students residing and attending Chickasaw Elementary School recommended to be moved to Inglewood. From Chickasaw Elementary to Deerwood, there are 181 students residing and attending Chickasaw Elementary recommended to be moved to Deerwood. The next slide displays the demographic breakdown for each school, both before and after the rezoning.
Chickasaw currently has 2 full-day pre-K ESC, 1 half-day pre-K ESC, and 3 K through 5 ASD units. So we're proposing to move. Inglewood has only a half-day pre-K, so we're proposing that they move that one to Pinar, and then move the 3 ASD K through 5 units to Inglewood and 1 full-day pre-K ESC to Inglewood, which would put them at 4. Little River currently has 1 pre-K half day and 2 EBD. So they would receive 1 full day pre-K, and that would put them at 4. Azalea Park Elementary and Arbor Ridge would absorb one of the half day pre-Ks from Chickasaw. So some of the students from that half day would go to Azalea Park, and some would go to Arbor Ridge's existing pre-K ESC. And then Pinar would absorb the other half-day pre-K from Inglewood.
Summary of community response. There is 1 family supporting and 7 families opposing this rezoning. If approved, this rezoning will commence in August of 2026. This concludes our presentation for Chickasaw Elementary Schools consolidation. Dr. Vasquez.
Madam Chair, we're ready for any questions or comments from board members.
Thank you. Member Salamanca.
Thank you, and thank you, Andy, for looking into some of these. I think there was a lot of ESC questions in the school. And I know we talked about this earlier this morning, but one of the things that is impacted because of the 2 schools I have, which is McCoy and Chickasaw, is on the gifted flow, right? So some of the Chickasaw students, the Ventura students go to Chickasaw. So McCoy students are now going to be, some of them, going to Ventura. That's the new zoning, which we'll talk about later. But the Ventura gifted students get taken to Chickasaw. And so I was getting a lot of questions from McCoy students that are in gifted programs saying, where am I going to go? For those that are zoned for Ventura, Ventura's gifted program is in Chickasaw, and Chickasaw is also being consolidated. So one, highlights the complexity of all the movement that we're working with. And in our gifted programs, some of them have it on school and others have it where students go to other schools for this. And so one of the things that I'm trying to figure out as well as I talk to parents, I think is an area they're really confused on, okay, what happens to my kid? What school are they going to go to for gifted? Is the school that they currently go to open for enrollment? Like, there's all kinds of questions. And so I appreciate your staff looking into it as we figure out that flow, because at least my 2 schools were near enough to each other where the flow of students were actually, it kind of became circular. And I was having a hard time answering the question because I couldn't track it either. So I support this. It makes sense. And my one flag is that we continue to figure out what that gifted workflow is, specifically that dynamic between Chickasaw and McCoy, because both of them are being consolidated. So,
And that affects all the schools that are being consolidated, because we have gifted students at each school. So once the principals choose their model for next year, which should be soon, I'll be able to give you exactly where they'll go if this is approved.
got it.
And I'll make sure I share it with everybody.
And is there any timing wise? Because we have open enrollment, registration, and some parents might not get the information on the gifted details yet, but they are wondering about the open enrollment. So is there?
We have a sense of urgency with it, so it'll be. I'm anticipating, even if I have to call the principals myself, that we'll get it within the next week or 2.
Got it. Because I'm some parents are anxious about, obviously have to decide or register kids. They don't have answers yet on if there are gifted programs at what school and
Right.
open enrollment. Like that timing, I think is causing some anxiety for these schools. So thank you for that. But yeah, supportive. That's it, Chair.
All right. No further comments? We're good.
Eccleston Elementary Schools consolidation.
Madam Chair, just making sure we had consensus to move forward.
Yes, we have
Okay.
consensus to move forward. Thank you.
Eccleston's current enrollment is 334 and school's capacity is 684, which shows that the school is more than 51% under capacity. The next slides will show maps and demographic data to help illustrate the potential impact on students, families, and schools. Red lines indicate current elementary school boundaries, and the schools involved in this rezoning are Eccleston Elementary and Washington Shores Elementary. The purple area is the new proposed zone for Washington Shores Elementary School. The next slide will show you zoomed-in views of the areas proposed to be moved. From Eccleston Elementary to Washington Shores, there are 298 elementary students residing and attending Eccleston Elementary School that are recommended to be moved to Washington Shores. The next slide displays the demographic breakdown for each school, both before and after the rezoning. I will give you a moment to review the numbers for each school. Eccleston has no ESE units that will require movement to another school. We have received input from 2 families opposing this rezoning. We also received a petition from a community member. The petition received from Eccleston community contained 308 signatures, demanding that Eccleston Elementary School remain open. As indicated in the community meeting, community input requires that petitions be hand-delivered or mailed in their original form to the Office of Student Enrollment, and that each submission include the name and address of the individual. This petition, however, did not comply with that instruction provided at the community meeting, as the signatures did not include addresses. As a result, student enrollment was unable to verify that only 1 submission per household was provided. As previously stated in this presentation, we will open the window for community input starting tomorrow, and all input must be received by 7:30 a.m. on February 17, 2026. The community will have an opportunity to resubmit a petition if they choose. Any submissions of input, whether it be a survey, email, or petition, must have the individual's name and address, and only 1 input per household will be counted. If a member of the community submits input through one of the other methods, including filling out the survey form via QR code or sending an email to schoolrezoning@ocps.net, then the party should not sign a petition. If approved, this rezoning will commence in August 2026. This concludes our presentation for Eccleston Elementary Schools consolidation. Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your report. If you could go back, look at the capacity, just take the slide back with Washington Shores number and Eccleston's numbers. Okay, right there. All right, now, members, even though I went to the meeting and I did my best to explain what we were really up against, and the fact that many of my schools, if not all of them, many of them are under-enrolled, and the fact that the district, we've had the money in the past so we could just continue to, even schools were unenrolled, be able to give them the necessary things that they need, like guidance counselors, media specialists, and the like. But as our budgets got cut, we just could not afford to continue to give schools that were under capacity, as opposed to schools that needed those funds. If they were like at 1,200 or it's 900 or 700, we didn't have the money to do it. Now, many of them are going to ask me this question, and you've gone over, but I need you to probably do it again for those that are listening. Washington Shores has 269 enrollment. All right, you see that? And then Eccleston is at the 334. So explain why Eccleston is a school that's being closed and not Washington Shores. I don't want any of them closed, but I just need you to, because I'm looking at these numbers.
So Washington Shores, albeit 1 year, is the newer school.
Okay.
And they can accommodate the students.
What do you mean it's the newer? Yeah, it was built before Eccleston. After Eccleston was built.
Is
Yes.
that what you're saying? Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I know that. All right, so now, I also got questions about the children that's being transferred from Eccleston to Washington Shores. Will there be buses? Because even though on the map it looks like it's very close, but it's not that close. You go down all the way down Columbia, and then you make that left on Bethune, which is the Washington Shores Shopping Center. Then make that other left on Rogers Drive, then you run into Washington Shores. So will there be buses for the children? How are we working the transportation?
So transportation is provided to students that are 2 miles or more from their zoned school. Transportation would also look into the routes for walkability, but I don't know if Pacheco is here to answer that better for me.
The reason why I'm asking that, and I know that, but the fact I know that at Eagle's Nest, we have administrators at the schools. Those children have to walk down Kirkman Road. They are assigned to walk with the children, you know, and I'm just wondering if there isn't a bus, if they have to, there's Roberta right there. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Ms. Neal.
Good evening again, board members. Yeah, just to give you a little bit of information that it will be in general for pretty much all the different consolidations that we're reviewing today. So what the team did when they were analyzing the need of the transportation for the students that will be going to a new school, first we looked at the buses that were serving that school. So of course in Eccleston in this case they didn't have any buses, but they will see what the distance is from those kids based on the information that we have on hand and the estimated number of kids that will be qualifying for transportation. So that was the first thing that we did, making sure that we will be able to transport them. In this case, we're able to transport it. The second thing that we do, and this is just on the general basis, is that there are those exceptions when some students that reside within the 2-mile radius are afforded transportation by us identifying what they consider to be hazardous conditions as defined by the Florida statutes. We will perform that analysis, and if those kids, based on that analysis, we identify some of those situations there, we will provide transportation to them even though they're without the 2-mile radius. And the third one, of course, is if it is required by the IEP, we will provide transportation for them. But as of right now, based on the information that we have on hand, based on the students, without conducting any hazardous conditions walking analysis, we are able to provide transportation to the students that will be moving from Eccleston to Washington Shores.
I am concerned as we look at what may be hazardous to me, well, to a child, may not be hazardous to me as an adult, because I'm grown, I'm an adult, and there's certain areas and situations that I can control as an adult. But when you have first graders, second, third graders walking through a gauntlet of situations that are not favorable for little children, that is my biggest concern. And see, I'm looking at the walk from Columbia. If they come down Aaron, make a left on Aaron, go all the way down to Columbia, or make a left on Aaron, go up Pepper Kennedy Boulevard, then make a left on Bruton, then make another right on Columbia. I'm going inside the neighborhoods. But Columbia Street is my concern. If the children that live in the Richmond Heights area, those areas, right, Pinecrest area, coming. Now, the children that live in Mercerton Terrace that go to Washington Shores, they cross in Columbia one time, and there's a crossing guard through the Washington Shores Shopping Center, and they're right at Washington Shores. But they're coming from as far back as Eccleston, near that area, Carver Shores, and that area. If they're coming, they were zoned for Eccleston.
Columbia Street, that's a long street, and a lot of things occur on that street. So I appreciate you saying verbally that we're going to look at the hazardous conditions, because those are some concerns that parents have with their children doing the walking in. I don't know, Superintendent, how that can be arranged, but with Eagles Nest, because we know Kirkman Road is not so much as it's hazardous as it is traffic, and children, you know, crossing Kirkman Road is fierce. So they do have people assigned from Eagles Nest, and the children get to school, back to school comfortably and safely. But that is a real concern that I have. And then also, you know, I do have consideration for the teachers. And we know that because the way things are, we're going to do our best to place teachers. But I'm hoping that principals will be open to receive the teachers, you know, that are coming, because you're going to have more students and there'll be more classes, you know, if you're going to bring all those kids into Eccleston, you know what I'm saying? I mean, into Washington Shores. But I really wanted to have you address again why we're doing that. The fact that even after we get the students in Washington Shores, we're going to still be, all of the schools are going to be under capacity, populated, excuse me. But it's better. We're doing the best that we can, right? Am I correct in saying that? That we'll be under capacity even with that. But it's better than trying to take the money, spread it 2 and 3 ways, but just bring it into one school. And I think that's really why we're choosing Washington Shores, because we don't have enough money to spread both Washington Shores and Eccleston. We can't.
Madam Chair, Mayor.
Yes.
So a couple of points. I'll start with your last one. Yes. If we did not make these very difficult decisions to consolidate schools, then we would have schools that would not be able to provide the same services, basic services across the district. So you are correct in stating that. Second, as Mr. Pacheco alluded, we will, take a look at the path children would be taking. I'm not quite sure, but we'll look into it, about teachers from Eagles Nest.
No, from Eccleston coming to Washington Shores.
No, but you mentioned teachers walking.
Oh
or
yeah, I don't know if
accompanying-
it's teachers, but maybe it's the what you call security people or something. But Eagles Nest, they do have their adults walking with the children. I don't know.
Well, we'll look into it, because
They
it
walk
should
with the-
not, right? It should not be OCPS employees because of the liability. We can't even have when there's a crossing guard that is not there, we can't even have our staff act.
Well, don't
as
let me
cross-
say teachers, but I know there's somebody that's an adult.
There might be parents that
Yeah,
are doing
yeah.
that, so-
There are. I'm sorry, I don't want to put something out that's not true, but I have seen it. There are adults, and they need to have adults, because that's Kirkman Road is fierce. They need somebody walking with the children. Yeah.
Right. So we will
Could be
look
adults,
into
yeah,
the
parents.
path that they are walking and assess if it's a hazardous conditions, and if so, then we would be able to take a look at transportation. So Mr. Pacheco and his team will take a look at that, and
Thank
then
you.
I'll come back to you.
That's my biggest concern.
Got it.
The walk. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we don't have any further questions or comments from board members. Is there consensus to move forward with this to the board? All right. Yes, thank you.
McCoy Elementary Schools consolidation. McCoy's current enrollment is 462, and the school's capacity is 834, which shows that the school is more than 45% under capacity. The next slides will show maps and demographic data to help illustrate the potential impact on students, families, and schools. Red lines indicate current elementary school boundaries, and the schools involved in this rezoning are McCoy, Shenandoah, and Ventura. The colored areas are the proposed zones. Purple is Shenandoah, green is Ventura, and the next slides will show you zoomed-in views of the areas proposed to be moved. From McCoy Elementary School to Ventura Elementary School, there are 254 elementary students residing and attending McCoy Elementary. Recommended to be moved to Ventura. From McCoy Elementary School to Shenandoah Elementary, there are 143 students residing and attending McCoy Elementary, recommended to be moved to Shenandoah Elementary. The next slide displays the demographic breakdown for each school, both before and after the rezoning.
McCoy currently has 2 K through 5 ASD units, and we're proposing that they move to Lake George Elementary, which would put Lake George Elementary with 4 K through 5 ASD units.
We received input from one family opposing this rezoning. If approved, this rezoning will commence August 2026, and this concludes our presentation for McCoy Elementary.
Member Salamanca.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Stacy. Well, always surprised when I see the community response. The community meetings had a lot more folks there, but I feel like they felt obviously that, I mean, all of their concerns were shared. And one of the things that I continue to hear about McCoy, I think folks understand kind of the necessity of what we're doing. Not happy about it, but they understand. Is the historical value of the name Michael McCoy to the area, to Orlando. And so they have asked me if there's ways that OCPS and its future usage to continue the kind of legacy of the Michael McCoy name in some way. And I know that we're talking about different potential uses there. And so I want to just bring that up as something that the community really thought was important to continue.
And we've had that from a couple of different schools, including Board Member Felder's. And so while there has been no final decision what's going to happen with the facilities, we certainly will take that into consideration. And if we can, we will. Just as a side note, we will be bringing recommendations to the board about the facility use after the rezoning, but we'll probably start to have meetings with the board members ahead of time in the event we do pass it, and if there are any concerns about the proposed uses, that we're able to address them in a timely manner.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's one. We can continue having those conversations. I will definitely advocate to preserve the name and some of the history for these schools, and definitely something that the community cares deeply about. But I'm supportive. It's a really hard one, as folks know. This was my elementary school, and when you run for school board, you don't think you're going to be closing your own school. So really tough one. But thank you, staff. I think we did as much as we could to kind of work through this, and like George will be, it's a great school as well, and families are actually excited. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Boy, I hear you. I think of, my elementary school and what I would feel like. Yeah, that's tough. But it's a reality we're facing. So, yeah, absolutely. Consensus amongst the board that we'll move forward this to the board meeting. All right.
Meadowwoods Elementary Schools consolidation. Meadowwoods' current enrollment is 516, and the school's capacity is 837, which shows that the school is more than 38% under capacity. The next slides will show maps and demographic data to help illustrate the potential impact on students, families, and schools. Red lines indicate current elementary school boundaries. Schools involved in the rezoning are Meadowwoods, Wyndham Lakes, and Southwood. The colored areas are the proposed zones. Pink is Wyndham Lakes, and purple is Southwood. The next slides will show you zoomed-in views of the areas proposed to be moved. From Meadowwoods Elementary to Southwood Elementary, there are 253 elementary students residing and attending Meadowwoods Elementary, recommended to be moved to Southwood. From Meadowwoods Elementary to Wyndham Lakes Elementary, there are 160 students residing and attending Meadowwoods Elementary School, recommended to be moved to Wyndham Lakes. The demographic overview for each of the schools.
Meadowwoods currently has one full-day pre-K ESE, one half-day pre-K ESE, and 4 K through 5 ASD units. We're proposing moving the 4 K through 5 ASD units to Waterbridge, who currently do not have any units. Proposing to move one full-day pre-K to Stonewick, which would put them at 4 units with their 2 ASD and 2 pre-K. And Sally Ride will get 1 half-day pre-K unit to go along with their 1 IND and 1 orthopedically impaired. At the community meeting, what came up a lot was, why are we moving the 4 ASD to Waterbridge instead of John Young or West Creek, which were closer? And the reason is because John Young and West Creek already are maxed out with their units. They each have quite a bit, 4, I believe, if not 3, but 4, yes. So Waterbridge was the next closest.
We have received input from 7 families, 1 family supporting and 6 families opposing this rezoning. If approved, this rezoning will commence August 2026. And this concludes our presentation for Meadowwoods Elementary Schools consolidation.
Member Ferrant.
Thank you. Each one of these really are just so difficult to walk through, right? And it almost feels surreal because I feel like just a few years ago, I even, as a parent, was sitting back thinking, why don't we make these schools bigger? We have so many portables outside and we should have just made them bigger to begin with. And now I think it's pretty wild. It's like the perfect storm, and we're just seeing the results of that right now. And so, I really want to thank the community and the parents who have been really involved and patient even, and just being a part of this. I don't think it's easy for any of us. And just kind of trying to understand it. If you still have questions, I want you guys to reach out, because it is, as difficult as it is, as you start to understand the why behind it, it makes sense. Just isn't what anybody really is like wanting to do. The one question I would have, I had reached out. I know one big thing that came up at the community meetings was the travel across from like on Weatherby across Orange Avenue, and there's the train that hits right there, and the way the light is. And so if we can just have work with the county to see if there's a way to maybe kind of synchronize the light and the train. I don't know if that's even possible, but somehow just sort of make that a little smoother. I think the whole community as a whole would love that, because every time I go down there, that you get stuck in that light. But really just for this, what we're talking about here, my one question would be, do we know how much it's going to cost to provide buses for these students? Because from what it appears, both schools, whether you're being sent to Southwood or Wyndham, kids are going to need to be bused.
Correct. There's current buses that are running, so there's not going to be an additional, cost. There would be additional stops, but there's buses that are already running in that area.
Okay, perfect. So they would just swing by and get those kids on their way to the. You guys are so smart. You're always thinking of everything. I love it. So with that, really, I appreciate also with as far as the ESE side, thank you for breaking it down, helping us understand a little more, because that was a concern of, why aren't we picking another school that's closer? But again, just trying not to overwhelm our schools with too many units. So I appreciate that. And every question I had of, are you sure? Like, can we move these kids here or do something where you guys have already thought of everything. So I feel like from every meeting I have, the team, all of you, especially Wendy and everybody, is really just kind of thinking ahead and trying to think of, okay, what could we do? How could we make sure that we aren't impacting so many kids, and really just keeping it smooth and steady as we walk through this wild time. So thank you again. I'm fully in support of moving forward.
All right. Thank you, Member Farran. No other comments from other board members, so there's consensus among the board to bring this to the general board meeting.
Orla Vista Elementary Schools Consolidation. Orla Vista's current enrollment is 435, and the school's capacity is 735, which shows that the school is more than 40% under capacity. The next slides will show maps and demographic data to help illustrate the potential impact on students, families, and schools. Red lines indicate current elementary school boundaries. Schools involved in this rezoning are Orla Vista, Oak Hill, Ivy Lane, and Eagles Nest Elementary. The colored areas are the proposed zones. Yellow is Oak Hill, pink is Ivy Lane, green is Eagles Nest. The next slides will show you zoomed in views of the areas proposed to be moved. From Orla Vista Elementary to Ivy Lane, there are 189 elementary students residing and attending Orla Vista, recommended to be moved to Ivy Lane. From Orla Vista to Oak Hill Elementary, there are 145 students residing and attending Orla Vista, recommended to be moved to Oak Hill. From Orla Vista to Eagles Nest, there are 67 students residing and attending Orla Vista, recommended to be moved to Eagles Nest. The demographic overview for each of the schools. Orla Vista currently has 0 ESE units that would require movement to another school. We have not received any input regarding this rezoning. If approved, this rezoning will commence August 2026. This concludes our presentation for Orla Vista Elementary.
Member Felder?
Thank you. Orla Vista, that was one of the first rezoning meetings that I attended, and I must say I was very happy to see members from the Ivy Lane administrative staff at the meetings, and they were engaging some of the parents with answering the questions. Many of the people, Orla Vista's been there for so long. I met people, lady I met whose, I think mom was a teacher there for some years, and she went there, and it was really a kind of communal kind of thing. But again, we tried to explain and show that we just did not have the money and the resources that they would need to have to be comparable with other schools in Orange County District, and we wanted to make sure all of our children got the maximum help and assistance, and funding would not allow us to give that to the children at Orla Vista. But I am excited to know that I believe that the transfer with them into Ivy Lane would be a wonderful marriage. It is my hope that it will work well for them. Again, they're on Kirkman Road, but if you look at it, Ivy Lane is right in front of them. I mean, it's like a hop, skip, and a jump from where Orla Vista is in Ivy Lane. So I think that I believe that the merger will be good and will be safe. Did we think we needed buses for them, or how are we going to work that with the walking?
So, Board Member Felder, it will be the same process that we have done for the other schools.
Okay.
Students that live within that 2-mile radius.
They can walk.
could walk,
Okay.
and then those that live outside would get transportation.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. All righty.
So without objection, we have consensus to bring this to the board for a regular meeting. All right. That concludes our rule development workshop. Thank you all for the excellent work you did. I know this has been difficult on you all as well. I remember vividly talking to John Morris. I hadn't been here for very long. I've known him for so many years because he worked at the county and y'all stole him away. I tried to steal him back several times. That didn't work out. But when I came here, I was so concerned about the overcrowding, and it is still a problem. As Stephen pointed out, we have overcrowding, we have undercrowding. The overcrowding is not near the problem that it was years ago. But I was trying to figure out a way for us to build schools that kind of had flex space, because we were putting portables. Well, and he told me, he said, we're going to look back and we're going to have schools that have empty rooms, and at some point we're going to have areas where we're going to have to close our schools. And I was looking at, he said, you don't understand the demographics of communities. They change over time. Brand new communities, the majority of young families move into brand new communities. I was one of them. Over and over again, I look at where I moved. And as those communities age, fewer and fewer young people, childbearing age, move in. I look at my own neighborhood. We're kind of on like our second wind, if you will, but the number of kids coming out of our neighborhood is a fraction of what it was when it was first built, and people like me with 4 kids and my neighbor with 3 kids. It is a part of what happens in communities. So that's a factor that plays into this, as well as so many other factors that we've talked about. And so in this situation, we've just got to do the best that we can for all of our kids. And I know you guys have looked at this every which way possible, and I think each of the board members that have spent time with you, Member Ferrant, I think, said it really well. What about this? Did you think about that? And one thing I've learned working with you all for 7 years is you've thought of just about everything. By the time you get here, you have thought through all the problems, and I know with the superintendent, she's looked at everything herself, and so it gives me a great deal of confidence making tough decisions, because I know that they're the right decisions. So with that, the meeting is now adjourned. That was my way of saying thank you and you're awesome if I missed that point.